What is up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video, and as you can tell, there's a bit of a change of scenery going on in the video. Now, I haven't posted a video in like 4 or 5 days, but there's a good reason for that. As most of y'all know, me and Anna, we had our own house. We lived there for like 6 or 7 months. We had to move. We ended up moving back in with her mom. And we've been there for the past like 3 or 4 months, and y'all know, well, most of y'all know, we've been looking for a place of our own. Well, here's the big announcement of today's video. We found a place. We have officially found a house to rent. We're not buying it or anything. We're just renting it. So that's why I haven't posted in so long. I've been moving everything by myself because Anna's had to work and I didn't want to bother too many people. The only person that helped me was my boy Wyatt from Big Rubber Ranch. He let me use one of his trailers. He used his big old muscles to move some of my furniture. So shout out to Wyatt. Y'all go follow him. But yeah, we got like one more load of like clothes and stuff. But after that, we're pretty much moved in. So this is gonna be the office. It's not gonna look like this. It's gonna change throughout these next couple of videos. You know, me trying to figure out like what angle I want. Do I want the camera looking this way? What am I gonna hang here? The only thing I have up on the wall right now is that beautiful piece of artwork. So y'all let me know if y'all have any ideas on like what y'all want to see on the wall. Most of y'all have sent me what I have to hang up, so y'all let me know. So yeah, if y'all want to see a house tour, y'all let me know by hitting that like button and let me know down in the comments. That's the big announcement of today's video. We have officially moved into our own house again. Y'all get ready for a bunch of content, new content. I'm gonna be going hard. I'm gonna be posting on here daily. Mark my word in this video. If you're watching daily, I'm not going to miss a day for the next few months, trust me. And I'm gonna be posting a bunch on my Patreon. By the way, if you didn't watch last video where I announced that I started a Patreon, click the link down in the description. It will take you straight to it if you want to sign up. You'll get early access to videos, exclusive live streams, recommendations for reactions on the main channel. I come from you first. So yeah, if y'all want to support me and support the channel even more, click that link down in the description for the Patreon. So yeah, that's enough talking, but today we're going to be reacting to How Did Britain Lose the American Revolution. So I've been out of school for like 2 years now, and like it was probably like 3 years ago when we learned about the American Revolution and the Revolutionary War and all that. I mean, we took in American history class, there was like a month period of nothing but learning about the revolution and the Revolutionary War. I mean, they drilled it into our damn skulls. You want to know how much of that information that they drilled into my head that I still remember? About 3%. I mean, it might as well just went in this ear, came out this ear, hit the wall, bounced back, went in at like a weird angle, moved like everything, went straight out back the other ear and straight out the window. And I loved history. I like paid attention in history. The other classes, I might have been sleeping, you know, but this one, I was awake. So yeah, we definitely go hard when it comes to teaching it in America, but remembering the teaching that the teachers did, for me personally, that's a task in itself. So if y'all are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video for the house tour, and let me know down in the comments what y'all thought about this video. Now, let's get into it.
This video was made possible entirely by our supporters on Patreon. Special thanks to my top patrons, Fritz, Joe Crispin, Brandon Wuwan, and Derek Bello.
Patreon link down in the description.
The from Lieutenant Jay Waller of the 1st Battalion Royal Marines at Bunker Hill.
Two companies of the 1st Battalion of Marines and part of the 47th Regiment were the first that mounted the breastwork. And you will not be displeased when I tell you that I was with those two companies, who drove their bayonets into all that opposed them. Nothing could be more shocking than the carnage that followed the storming of this work. We gained a complete victory.
One thing, I'm so glad we like evolved when it comes to like war. Can you imagine being one of them guys where war and like killing each other consisted of standing in front of each other and taking turns shooting? What the hell? That is, I mean, can you just imagine being 100 yards away with 100 freaking guns just pointed at you and you have to wait for them to shoot? That never made any sense to me. Like, what were we thinking? We were like, all right, you know what? Instead of like, you know, like hiding behind a tree or like digging a ditch and getting down in there, we're just gonna go into a nice open field where we can see everybody on both sides. We're just gonna line up nice and even, and you know, even numbers on both sides, and we're just gonna aim at each other and take turns shooting. Not me. Not me. Not me. I couldn't do it. I could not do it.
The Battle of Bunker Hill was one of the many gruesome battles of the American Revolution, a war that lasted a total of 8 years, approximately the same length as the American Civil War, Spanish-American War, and Mexican-American War combined.
Jeez.
It's clear then that in many ways the American Revolution was a war of attrition. But unlike prevailing belief, the war was not won simply because the British would fight in lines and the Americans would just hide in the bushes. All of America's most decisive victories were won in a conventional manner. But it was in the way that the Americans engaged the British, fighting on their own terms, that allowed them to outlast their enemy. I'm Griffin Johnson, the Armchair Historian, and today we'll be evaluating the advantages and disadvantages that both sides faced, which ultimately decided the outcome of the
What was it called? Guerrilla warfare? I think, yeah, that sounds right. Guerrilla warfare, where like, didn't we learn it from like the Native Americans or something? I think. Or maybe it was like Korean or Chinese. I don't know, somebody taught us about it, like where we like were, instead of just lining up, we like hid in trees and stuff. Y'all let me know down in the comments. I think it was guerrilla warfare.
Before we get to the video, I highly recommend you guys check out the channel Japsby on YouTube. He's got a lot of videos on all different wars throughout history. Today he released a video on the Haitian Revolution. I'll actually be narrating one of his videos this month, so be sure to subscribe and check it out. Links are in the description below.
I will.
To begin this topic, we'll be comparing 3 categories in order to evaluate who fielded the better army, starting with leadership. The most notable American leader is, of course, George Washington. Appointed Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army in 1775, Washington was quick to take action. He successfully forced the British garrison out of Boston in 1776, but was defeated and almost captured that same year in New York City. Still, his tactical innovation and strategic prowess are proven in the battles of Trenton, Princeton, and Yorktown, to name a few. The next American general is Horatio Gates. Responsible for the American victories at Saratoga, Gates gained recognition early on. But just as Gates is remembered for Saratoga, he's also remembered for the major defeat suffered at the Battle of Camden, which was a huge blow to American morale. As a consequence, he was replaced by the much more competent Nathaniel Greene, a favorite of George Washington, who eventually defeated the British in the South. Finally, there's Benedict Arnold, who captured Fort Ticonderoga,
My boy Benedict.
a crucial position in upstate New York. This action would soon be overshadowed, however, by his betrayal of the American cause in the middle of the war. On the British side, we have 3 significant commanders. The first is William Howe, the man who led the British to their Pyrrhic victory at Bunker Hill. After the battle, he replaced Thomas Gage as Commander-in-Chief of the British forces in America. Howe would go on to successfully capture Philadelphia, but because of poor communication, this meant that the army of John Burgoyne, another British commander, would be trapped without support and eventually forced to surrender.
I feel like I'm watching like a slideshow presentation that my teacher is like presenting. Like, this is some professional stuff right here.
After Howe's blunder, he was replaced with Sir Henry Clinton in 1778, who would remain in the position of Commander-in-Chief for the majority of the war. The last British commander I'd like to mention is Charles Cornwallis, who was mostly active in New England and the Middle Colonies in the initial stages of the war.
He's the only one I've heard of.
He was assigned to the Southern Theater, where he made
Or I remember.
progress in Georgia and the Carolinas before overextending and being forced to surrender at Yorktown. From this, we can infer that the British generals tended to be more experienced and better educated, although this was negated by the presence of other factors, such as the sheer distance from Great Britain, which delayed the delivery of troops and supplies. In the case of American generals, most of their experience came from the 7 Years' War. This would give them superior knowledge of the terrain. Their main disadvantage would be the lack of organization. In terms of pure tactical ability, American commanders held a slight advantage, as evident in the cunning victories at Trenton and Cowpens. The next category we'll evaluate is troop discipline and tactics. If you've seen any TV documentary on the American Revolution, it's usually stated directly that the Americans were superior in their combat abilities in almost every way just because they utilized guerrilla tactics.
I knew it. I knew it.
And while there is some truth to this, it was the Continental Army that won battles and the irregular troops who retreated from those battles. It's also said that along with the Minutemen, the Riflemen were game changers on the battlefield. But as stated in Battles of the American Revolutionary War 1775 to 1781 by W.J. Wood, at full strength, the Riflemen could muster some 960 men, less than 3% of the Army's total numbers. I can say confidently then that it's simply untrue that American rifles and militia won the war. The American militiamen were untrained, under-equipped, and most importantly, unobligated to fight. Oftentimes they would simply leave and go home if they didn't want to fight anymore. A British redcoat, meanwhile,
That'd be me. That'd be me. I'd shoot like one time and be like, yeah, you know what? I like life. I'm going home.
Much more regularly, and was more often than not equipped with a bayonet, making for devastating charges. Lastly, always have a detachment of elite grenadiers on the right flank, which would often break the American line, especially if the American forces were composed of militia, as seen at the Battle of Camden.
Fire! Prime and low!
The last category we'll evaluate is equipment and supplies. Infantry equipment was the logistical priority for both the British and American armies. The British were armed with the Brown Bess, a .71 caliber flintlock musket. The Americans, on the other hand, were mainly equipped with the .69 caliber Charleville musket, which was supplied by the French. Both sides did utilize riflemen in the war, but of course the Americans were better known for it, wielding the infamous Kentucky long rifle, as seen here. We can say then that the only significant differences between each side's army was that of supply. The British supply lines during the majority of the war were stretched very thin, causing them to stay close to ports to receive reinforcements and foodstuffs. This constraint also prevented the British armies from pursuing the American forces inward. Even when the British could use the ports they captured, getting resupplied and reinforced took 1 to 4 months.
Jesus.
Despite Britain's logistical constraints, the Americans were in no better a position. Such can be seen at Washington's Valley Forge encampment, where about 2,000 of his 12,000 soldiers died to malnutrition and disease. Losses like this were commonplace in the Continental Army, at least early on. For this reason, the British held a slight advantage in supply. So with all of this said, the British were better
Yeah, back then, it was like, if you control like the ports and getting like the necessary stuff that you need to actually like survive while you're over there going to war, you pretty much won the war. That was like the main thing. If you controlled the ports, you controlled everything, because that was the only way of getting what you needed.
Well equipped and led by somewhat competent commanders, whereas the Americans lost more battles, were short on supplies, undertrained, and only compensated by a few notable commanders. How then did the British lose? Well, we're forgetting 2 crucial categories: war support and grand strategy. Let's start with war support. The cause of the Patriots had significant support in the colonies. The idea of political independence was highly appealing, much more than that of loyalty to the crown, especially in the North, where British financial restrictions hurt American merchants. As the war continued, the British were increasingly seen as foreign invaders, and the actions of commanders such as Banastre Tarleton helped support this belief. Despite this, the Patriots were never fully able to control the entirety of the American countryside, as there was a strong core of loyalist supporters of Great Britain. Internationally, the American cause was more popular, with the French, Spanish, and Dutch all supporting the Patriot cause, though it was more out of a desire to oppose British hegemony than out of appreciation for Republican ideals.
Hey, we need some help. You trying to help us out? Nah. Come on, we're fighting the British. Okay, I guess.
Notable figures who really helped America reform their army were Baron von Steuben and Marquis de Lafayette. Something I find really interesting is that the largest battle of the American Revolution was actually fought at Gibraltar, and though the British came out victorious, it's just one of many examples of how overextended Britain became as America received more and more international support. Indeed, the British saw virtually no foreign support during the Revolution.
Y'all let me know down in the comments how they teach it over in the UK. The way we learned about it has to be different than from the way y'all learned about it. So y'all let me know down in the comments, like, what's like the main point that y'all get when they talk about the American Revolution? Because us, it's like earning freedom and earning liberty and justice for all of that stuff.
With regards to strategy, the Americans had the edge compared to the British, even if it changed as the war continued. At the outbreak of hostilities, the American army fought in a conventional manner, engaging the British on their own terms, and even launching some attacks into Britain's Canadian territories. Needless to say, most of these attacks failed, severely crippling American military strength. The British strategy initially was to secure the cities of New England, thinking that once the capital of the Revolution fell, so too would the
Also, come on now. We really leave England, find a whole new place, and you couldn't come up with a better name than New England? Come on now.
of the Patriots. Although they did capture most of New England, they were poorly coordinated. This could be seen when William Howe left Burgoyne in upstate New York to face the Continental Army while he captured Philadelphia. He underestimated the strength of the Americans, and what followed was one of the largest British military disasters of the time, as Burgoyne lost his whole army and was captured. Howe also found that even though Philadelphia was occupied, the Americans hadn't lost their will to fight. After realizing his strategy was not fit for the Americas, he resigned and left Henry Clinton in charge. The second phase of the war took place in the South, after Clinton realized that the North was too heavily populated with patriots. Washington and Nathaniel Greene had revised their strategy after destroying the British at Saratoga, but unfortunately, Horatio Gates learned nothing. Gates engaged General Cornwallis in the South in an open pitched battle and lost a huge portion of his men, after which he was relieved by Nathaniel Greene. Cornwallis and his staff, emboldened by their victory, continued to push through Georgia and North Carolina. Learning from his previous mistakes, however, Greene slowly pulled Cornwallis away from his supply lines by continuously drawing him into small skirmishes, until Cornwallis was forced to abandon his campaign and retreat to the port of Yorktown, where he was trapped by the French Navy, with Washington expecting him. By viewing the American Revolution as simply a fight between the British soldier and American soldier, all evidence would point to a British victory. But when you factor in that the Americans had help from tens of thousands of foreign soldiers and supplies, and were employing brilliant new strategies, you can see that the Americans were able to hold on until the British lost their will to fight. Even though Cornwallis was captured and lost his whole army, the British could have sent another one, but they didn't, because support for the war was virtually gone. And it is for all of these reasons combined that the British suffered such a defeat.
Jeez. That was a good ass video. That was a good video. Hang on, I gotta like this. That was a good video. I don't think we did not learn it like that in school. We need to learn it like that in school. That was really interesting the entire time, and I just learned stuff that I never learned in school. So, American education system. Step it up. So yeah, that is it for today's reaction. I really liked that video. I really did. Y'all let me know down in the comments what y'all thought about it. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Once we hit 100K, I'm getting an English, a British, a UK themed tattoo. Drop a like on the video if y'all like this video, and if you want to see a house tour. And if you want to, click the link down in the description. It will take you straight to my Patreon. And if you sign up for the Patreon, you'll be getting early access to videos, exclusive reactions, exclusive live streams, just some exclusive stuff. So if y'all want to join the Patreon and help support me and the channel even more than you already are, click that link down in the description. But other than that, make sure y'all go out today, spread love, spread kindness, do something nice for somebody today. I love you guys so much, I really do. JT Reacts, and I'm out. Peace.